Hi everybody, welcome to the extended edition of the Proyecto Saber mural. There is a lot of different elements that have gone into this mural and a lot of explanations and a lot of teachings that have come with passing that knowledge down to the students by the artist Victor Ayoto. What we wanted to do with this particular video is share with you some of the components that are very essential to this actual mural. And the very first thing that kind of stands out to you is this first part here. You see the words Proyecto Saber, and this in English is project knowledge or project to know. And it is connected by the symbol that you can find in the center of the Aztec calendar. And this particular piece relates, probably the easiest explanation in how it relates to the students is this is the representation of the fifth sun, the quinto sol, which in essence represents the time of consciousness. In order for our students to be able to develop their awareness about not just their academics in school, but how their education relates to the greater world and their purpose in it, one of the probably the most fundamental things is for students to understand themselves, and part of that vehicle to get them there is the program Proyecto Saber. As I mentioned before, this is one of the few programs within the Seattle Public Schools that actually focuses on academics and cultural enrichment for Latino indigenous students. The other piece that is very iconic, the thing that probably stands out the most is this image here. And this actually to us for indigenous cultures around the Americas, this is a very symbolic image. For us, this is a depiction of Cuauhtlichalpe. In English, there has been, over the time of Mexico, there has been the changes in imagery, and today we would relate this person as La Virgen de Guadalupe. But Cuauhtlichalpe or Tonantzin essentially represents us being able to be sustained. This is the goddess of nourishment, of sustenance. And that's why you see some of the different images here with the corn. But what's really interesting in this is that there's a lot of hidden images. You wouldn't notice this, but this is the representation of the moon. And then, of course, behind the representation of the sun. One of the other aspects that's really interesting in this is that you have these different planets. And this really speaks to the relationship of the astrological relationship we have with Mother Earth, the indigenous people and their beliefs of how they are related to the rest of the universe. And one thing that is really interesting is that you see a number of different planets reflected here all along the mural. There's actually 58 planets that's painted, and that is to coincide with the 58 stars that is actually located on the Virgen de Guadalupe's cloak. Not on this image, but on the actual Virgen de Guadalupe, you'll find 58 stars. And they're aligned in the way that, that it would have been set up in the sky on the day that the Virgen de Guadalupe first appeared to the indigenous person Juan Diego. So this kind of gives an ode to La Virgen de Guadalupe. And the last piece that's really symbolic here is on the corner here, you see the pyramid, and then you also see the serpent. And for this, this is probably the most essential component to this mural that relates to Proyecto Saber, because in Aztec history, philosophy, including the Mayas and other indigenous groups, there is this belief of connection, of collectivity and connection to community. One of the ways that this is represented in this mural is that within this particular pyramid, you have 13 levels represented, all the way from here down to here. And the further you go up, the smaller it gets, and the more focused it becomes. The reason why I mentioned that is because in the Maya culture, in the Aztec culture, you will find different representations of the importance of the 13 levels of consciousness. This is very similar to what young people who were aspiring to be leaders in their community back in indigenous times, they had to undergo a lot of rigorous study as part of their education, and the further knowledge that they developed, the more knowledgeable they became, and eventually reaching to that last level, that 13th level, where they then would essentially become kind of in academic terms, they would have graduated. And that is what represents those that we consider priests, elders. You have those individuals that are the knowledge, people that hold the knowledge, that are able to talk about the importance of the plants, the relationship within the community, the politics, and how all that works. And so the serpent here is a very positive symbology in this particular mural, because it shows, and there's, you can see this kind of piece here. If you just think of a snake, for example, and as it grows, it sheds its skin, it becomes a new person. It happens the very same thing for our students. Every time they pass a grade, they become another person. They become more knowledgeable, they've gained more experience. The same thing you have in here. So in essence, these pyramids, in addition to being places of worship, they were also places of study. You know, folks that really developed their consciousness through that. And so, wrapping all of this up, this is what the essence of Proyecto Saber is: to be able to create a space where young people feel they can learn, and those teachings, those values can pass on to the younger generation. So I hope you like this particular mural. There's a lot of history to it, and we just thought we'd share that with you. Thank you.